Hey there guys, how's it going? So I wanted to talk about this upcoming fight at light heavyweight that's taking place in the end of October between Artur Beterbiev and Enrico Koelling from Germany. Now, the fight's going to be taking place in Las Vegas. It was one of these fights that has taken ages to materialise. Obviously, earlier this year, Artur Beterbiev was set to fight Sullivan Barrera in Miami. However, that fight fell apart for whatever reason. I think Artur Beterbiev is in a very difficult promotional situation, and yeah, he's been struggling to get fights because of it. And yeah, the Sullivan Barrera fight completely fell apart, which was a shame because I was really looking forward to that fight. Now, Enrico Koelling is not a bad fighter. I've been watching him online quite a bit. I believe he's promoted by the Sauerlands over in Germany. He's a pretty basic fighter, pretty straight up and down. He's one of these guys who is very heavily reliant on the tight guard. He's got a very good jab, good stamina. He's durable. He comes forward, and while he's coming forward, he's blocking shots and he's parrying, and he's walking his opponents down while coming forward with a tight guard. He's similar to someone like Arthur Abraham, I guess. However, the problem is Enrico Koelling really lacks power, and I think his promoters probably understand that, which is why they're not really pushing him that much. They're not really marketing him that well. I mean, hardly anyone really knows who Enrico Koelling is, but he has a good record. I believe he has a record of, is it 26-1, something like. I'll need to look at his record. I haven't looked at it, but I heard that it was something like 26-1. He lost to a guy called Mirko Ricky, I think the guy's name was. In that fight was in 2015. He lost the fight by decision. In his last two fights, he faced a well-known South African fighter called Rhino Lindenberg. The first fight was very close. He won that fight by a split decision. He then went over to South Africa for the rematch, and he defeated Rhino Lindenberg clearly in the second fight by decision. So yeah, Enrico Koelling, there's not really a whole lot to talk about. I mean, his resume isn't too good. Like I said, he's a decent boxer. He's conventional. He's got good skills, a good jab, a good tight guard that he uses for defense. Seems to have good balance and footwork, but the guy just has no power whatsoever. And when you're in the light heavyweight division, which is a division that is full of power punchers, I mean, look, you got guys like Beterbiev, Sergey Kovalev, Adonis Stevenson, Alexander Vojdik. You've got a lot of big punchers in that division. It's going to be difficult for a guy like Enrico Koelling to really impose himself and really make a lot of noise in that division. There's just, I just don't think that with his lack of power, I really don't think that many people are going to be interested in his career. I really don't. So, yeah, I think that going into this Artur Beterbiev fight, clearly he's at a major disadvantage because Artur Beterbiev is probably the biggest puncher at light heavyweight. Okay, he has an amazing punching power with both hands, and he's two-handed. Both of these guys were pretty good amateurs. Obviously, Beterbiev was an Olympian, so he has a lot more amateur pedigree. However, Enrico Koelling has a good amateur record too. I mean, the guy's been boxing since he was 8. He defeated Tyrone Zoiga in the amateurs, I believe, and Tyrone Zoiga, of course, went on to become a world champion. So that's a good accomplishment there. But even in international experience and stuff, he can't compete with somebody like Beterbiev. He can't match Beterbiev for power, can't match him for experience in the amateurs. He can't really match Beterbiev for anything, in my opinion. I mean, he might be slightly better than Beterbiev technically. I think that Enrico Koelling has a slightly better, defense, slightly better tight guard that he uses. He's got good balance, but problem is that Artur Beterbiev has better punch technique. Artur Beterbiev is a very good counter puncher too. While he's coming forward, he can kind of slip punches and land those solid, really well turned over hooks that he throws. He's got a really, really good jab. I mean, in his last fight against Isidro Prieto, he hit Prieto with a jab that sent him flying across the ring. Of course, he ended up knocking him out in the first round. So Artur Beterbiev, to me, his punch technique is fantastic. The way he turns over his punches and develops power. And I just think that in this fight, it might be a little bit competitive early on, but I don't think that Enrico Koelling has the power to really deter Artur Beterbiev and to keep Artur Beterbiev off him. So even if the fight's even at long range, even if he's able to, kind of hold his own boxing with Beterbiev. I think that once Beterbiev starts to get confident and starts to find his timing and starts to work the body, I think that Beterbiev will break Enrico Koelling down, and I think he will stop him. So I'm going to go with Beterbiev by a knockout, probably in the mid rounds. I think he'll get through that guard. I think that while Koelling is coming forward, holding the tight guard, trying to trying to outwork Artur Beterbiev by blocking punches and then countering, I think that those punches will just be too hard. They'll break through the guard, and I think that Koelling will get knocked out. I honestly think that he's going to get destroyed here. I really do. I think that Beterbiev just has too much for him, and he's going to knock him out, in my opinion. So let me know what you guys think of this fight. Obviously, it's not a bad fight. Okay, I believe it's an eliminator for one of the titles. I think it's the IBF. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I think it is an eliminator because I'm sure Artur Beterbiev has been up there in the IBF rankings for a while. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully, this is what I'm hoping happens. I'm hoping that they can get the Sullivan Barrera fight on at some point, maybe next year, because I really do want to see that fight. I think that Beterbiev versus Barrera is a really interesting matchup, and I would love to see it. So, yeah, I'm going with Beterbiev by knockout. Let me know what you guys think, and thanks for watching.